I moved forward without thinking twice, trying to help the little girl. But I was held back by two strong arms, and unable to move. He made me watch as they buried the girl alive in the courtyard. And I couldn't scream or even move, because I was next. My name is Ifani, and I'm from a small village near Nsukka, in Enugu State, Nigeria. I'm 33 years old now, but when this happened I was just 17. I've never told this story before. Not to my mother, not to my friends, not to my pastor, not even to my wife. I know some people won't believe me. That's fine. But I lived through this. And I've kept it in my heart for 16 years like a wound that never closed. It started a few months after my father died. He was in a bus that crashed on the highway coming back from Abakaliki. The bus caught fire, and everyone got burnt to death, including my father. On the day of the accident, my mother and I were called to identify his body. We got there and saw burned bodies everywhere. No survivors. We were poor before when my father was still alive, but now, we had nothing. My mother was very sick, always coughing, and my younger siblings were just children. I had no job to support and take care of my sick mother and younger siblings. I had to do something, anything, to put food on the table to feed them. So when I heard people around talking about Prince Ikenna, that he was looking for strong boys to help him on his estate, I saw it as an opportunity to finally get a job. An answered prayer from God. But people in the village warned me. They warned me not to go. Old Mama Obi, a poor widow who stays alone, a neighbor from next door, said, "That man's not normal. He is not ordinary." "Why do you say that, Mama?" I asked. "Boys who go there to work never returned," she said again. "How do you mean?" I was puzzled. "They vanish and never returned. I've counted at least 5 in the last year," she said seriously. I laughed it off, believing it was one of those old stories she usually told the children. I didn't believe in village stories. After all, I'm not a child. I believed in working, making enough money, and feeding my family. So I ignored old Mama Obi's warnings and went. The prince's compound was hidden in a small forest. You had to go far into the bush, past the main roads, through a small dirt path that twisted like a snake. There were no signs for directions. There are no houses nearby. Just trees and bushes. Thick ones. The type that doesn't let light pass through. Finally, after walking for 4 hours, I stood outside facing the building. The gate was tall, black, and made of old iron. It groaned like it was alive when it opened. A strange-looking man came out to meet me, still standing outside the gate. His skin was as pale as a chalk. His eyes were too wide. His lips were dried and torn, and he never smiled. "Good day, sir," I greeted with a slight bow. He didn't say a word to me, nor did he respond to my greetings. He just motioned for me to follow. I entered the compound, and it was quiet, just too quiet. There were no animals around. No birds flying in the sky or perching around. Just that strange silence, the one that presses against your ears. I looked around at the main house and saw that it wasn't big, but it looked old. Not dirty, just ancient. The old that feels heavy. And then I saw him, the prince. Prince Ikenna. He was tall and handsome, slim but looked very strong. His skin is dark like coal. He wore a white robe and expensive red beads. He looked clean, almost too clean, like something that didn't belong in the real world. His smile was wide and charming, but his eyes were deep, like there was a mystery in them. They never smiled with him. "You are welcome, Ifani," he said, smiling, exchanging a handshake with me. "You have strong hands. And I like that." "Thank you, my prince," I said and bowed slightly, trying to please him as it was our first encounter and I wouldn't want to offend him. He left and asked the man to take care of me. That night I was offered a delicious food, jollof rice, plantain and suya, and was told I could rest for that night since I was just coming, that my work would begin the next morning. That point I felt relieved. I had a bed, a roof and warm food to eat. Maybe the village people were wrong, I thought to myself as I lay on the bed. But I was wrong. That first night around midnight I woke up suddenly. My body was completely with sweat covered. Not because I had a nightmare but because of a voice. A soft whisper like someone calling from far away. First I thought it was the wind. But there was none. The air was still. Then I heard the voice again. Little girl's voice. Crying softly. Not loud. Just steady. Like she had been crying for a long time. It came from the courtyard. Just 2 doors after my room. I got out of the bed. The window was shut. The glass looked older than me. I pressed my face against it to see through. The courtyard was empty. There was no one in sight. But I could still hear her. Her voice was soft and still crying. I went back to the bed and sat down, unable to sleep again. That voice stayed with me till morning. The next day, I was put to work in the garden behind the main house. Place was weird. The soil smelled like iron. And the plants weren't looking normal. Some were bright red. Some had black thorns. And there was even one that moved slightly when you touched it, like it was breathing. While I worked, I saw other boys, 5 of them, also working not far from me. "Hello, my name is Ifani," I greeted with a smile, happy that I saw them. But they didn't talk to me. They kept working. They didn't even look up at me. Their faces were blank, and their eyes were empty. Like they weren't really there. The pale man stood at a corner and watched us work. All day. Then, around evening, after I was done with the work I was assigned, the prince called for me. He said, "You have a very strong spirit, Ifani. I like that. So tonight, I would like you to take part in something special." "What kind of special thing could that be, my prince?" I asked as my spirit became unsettled. "You will know when it's time," he said and smiled as he walked away. Soon it was midnight. I was in the room when the pale man walked in and gestured with his hand for me to follow him. I was shocked to see some other person standing outside. They brought out a white clothes and asked me to wear it. They also told me not to wear shoes. So I removed my shoes slowly, wondering why and where they were taking me to. The pale man gestured for me to follow him again and took me to the courtyard at the back of the building. There I saw 6 other people already there. 3 men, 2 women and a girl. All in white clothes, standing barefoot, and quiet. In the middle of the courtyard, there was a hole that looked like a shallow grave, maybe 5 feet or more. I saw the prince standing at the head of the hole, holding a staff carved with symbols I had never seen before. Then they brought her out. Little girl. Couldn't be more than 10 years old. Both hands were tied. And her mouth was gagged with a piece of cloth. Her dress was rough and dirty. She was shaking and crying. I could see fear clearly in her eyes. I moved forward without thinking twice. "What's this? What are you doing?" I asked, looking up at the prince. Before I could say another word, 2 men grabbed me from behind. They were very strong. I couldn't free myself from their grip. I tried to shout, to ask them to leave me alone, but no sound came out. Nothing at all. It was like someone had taken my voice and swallowed it. The prince began to chant over the hole. I still remember the words. It wasn't Igbo. Not Yoruba. Not any language that I know. As he chanted, the others stood still. Without emotion. Just like statues. After he was done with the chants, they brought the girl forward and put her inside the hole. She screamed under the gag, kicking and fighting hard. I watched helplessly as she was lowered into the hole, and buried slowly, scoop by scoop, until only her face showed. Then her mouth. Then nothing. I stood there frozen, my heart beating fast and tears pouring from my eyes. The prince turned to me, eyes expressionless, and said, "Tomorrow is your turn to help dig the next one," he said, and walked away while the others followed behind except from the pale man. The pale man held my hand and dragged me back to the room. That night I didn't eat. And I couldn't sleep. I sat on the cold bed shaking. My fingernails became bloody from gripping the sheets. "I can't stay here, I need to leave this place," I whispered, looking around the dark room. 3 a.m. I made a decision. I broke the window with my foot and cut my thigh on the glass in the process and climbed out. I left my bag and shoes. No flashlight. Just raw fear. I ran so fast through the thick bush for hours. Thorns tore at my skin. Branches slapped me. But I kept going. And didn't look back. I ran till it was sunrise. Tired and weak, I found the road and fell on the ground. A truck driver saw me, covered in blood and dirt, and stopped. He got down from the truck and rushed down to where I was. "What happened to you?" he asked, trying to help up. I told him I'd been kidnapped by ritualists and had managed to escape. And he believed me. He helped me into his truck and drove me home. My mother started crying the moment she saw me. She thought I was dead because of the way I was looking. I told her I was robbed and dumped in the bush. I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. How could I? 3 weeks later, I was sitting with a friend when we heard the news. The prince's house had burned down to ashes. No one knew how it happened. Some said it was lightning that struck. Others say it was villagers that set it on fire. But no bodies were found. Not the prince. Not the girl. Not the pale man. Nothing, and nobody was found. Just ashes and bone fragments. And I know deep down in my heart, he's not dead. I still have the scar from that night. A long one down my left thigh. Sometimes it burns when I hear crying at night. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I still see her face, covered in dirt, eyes wide in terror. And once, only once, I saw him. 2 years later, at a market in Onitsha, I saw a man in white, tall, smooth-skinned, smiling without blinking. I looked again and he was gone. I don't know what he is. All I know is I was meant to be the next one. But I ran. And I've been running ever since. If you're ever offered work at a rich man's estate deep in the bush, and no one who goes there comes back, please, don't be like me. Don't go. Because not all folktales are fake. Some of them are warnings. The end.